For more information on my programs, please visit masajady.com. That's MASSAJADY.com. Welcome, basically for the new people, and a lot of new people actually. So because there's more and more interest coming up, I tell about what's going to happen in the future. Quite phenomenal, by the way, from what I'm seeing, especially because of the energy, the pure frequencies coming through, the purity wave coming through, which means that this frequency wave that is washing through. It's about a state of efficiency, right? Say we live in the matrix. The matrix really controls us. It supports us, but then it also controls us, right? It sucks the life out of us, basically. So what we're trying to do is free ourselves. We're trying to maintain a sense of freedom, sense of dignity, a sense of expansion, so we can essentially hold on or pull in the grandness that we are, our full potential. That's why I call it this mission that we're on, that I started, is about high performance consciousness. That's what it's all about. It's about breaking the matrix and coming into a whole new standard. Okay, and it's not just us. It's not just me having an idea and it's like, hey, let's do this. We're timing it right with the universe. Over time, the universe has cleaned itself up. Okay? Over time, the universe has gotten more and more efficient, right? And so this purity wave, there's been purity waves in the past. And what a purity wave is, basically, if you look at it as, say, a software update, software upgrade. Okay, this time it's not just like minor updates, right? Normally we would get these, little upgrades, right? Like on your phone. Right? You get upgrades, or like Apple, right? They get upgrades, and then what happens is that they have a whole new operating system. Nowadays it's Safari. Before it was Lion, and so on like that. Right? So it's a major upgrade. It's a lot of transformations, a lot of efficiencies within that, more power, more abilities. But then the things that didn't work out in the past, well, we can't access that anymore. Even if you liked some of the features, you just can't access it anymore, because for the most part, although it might have been good for you, it wasn't good for the masses. Right? For some reason or another, in this case the purity wave, it might have been good, say, for a small group of people, wealthy individuals, but then it controlled everybody else. So that system has to go, for example. Right? It wasn't good for all the people that get controlled, to create, say, new technologies. That's not good for the masses. This new purity wave, what is about, say, bringing us to a higher level of consciousness where everybody benefits. It doesn't mean that we drop down our level of our living, our standard of living. No, not at all. It means that we increase our standard of living, become more efficient at creating that standard of living at even a higher order, but for more people, and then also nobody else has to suffer because of our standard of living. For example, the U.S., they have a high standard of living. There's many countries that are surpassing the U.S. But then, as the U.S. and many other countries, they control or they destroy other countries to have a higher standard of living. Again, no offense against the U.S., but that's what you do. That's what we do. So again, it's shameful. I'm not going to get into that aspect of it either. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. But over time, a lot of wars, a lot of situations have started to control other countries, right? To benefit or basically rape the other countries, and then use whatever natural resources that those other countries have, or even just manual labor, right? To benefit, say, the West. So those things have to stop. And in the near future, you'll actually see, change of power. Not over to some other hand, but then a change of power where everybody starts to, say, come up and be grander. So with that in mind, I was talking about the medical community, because I said I'm not a doctor. By the way, I'm not a doctor in any way. I'm not financial analyst, marriage counselor, anything like that. So any views or anything that I give you as a suggestion, it's a suggestion. Do your own research on it. So as this purity wave comes through, so whether you're a doctor, like health professionals, including psychologists, doctors, naturopaths, I don't know, energy healers, whatever it might be, relationship experts, or even the wealth gurus, right? They show you how to make tons of money. So those individuals or those industries, whatever industry it would be, lawyers, doctors, computer analysts, even AI, okay, they're going to be pushed into bringing a higher level of, say, consciousness into what they develop. So, for example, and this is where I was talking about the medical community, because I help a lot of people get healthy. So, although I can't claim that I help a lot of people get healthy. So I just want to clarify that, okay, and why that is. Because the medical community has a hold on how people get healthy. But again, they don't make people healthy. I don't make people healthy. No matter how much surgery you take, no matter what prescriptions that you take, you've noticed that there's a lot of failure rate. In fact, for the medicines that are out there, they're just as good or worse than the placebos of those medicine prescription drugs. And you can do your own research on it. So why is the medical society pushing their prescriptions? So a lot of those things will show up for us. And then why do they have a lot of side effects on that? So the key is that I'm not against the medical society, as I'm not against religion, although many people think I'm against religion or spirituality, because we get letters and so on like that on that. So maybe that's why I'm bringing it up, because the purity wave is going to be pushing people on this. So might as well just bring it up. Not part of the outline, but what the hell, it's here. So the reason being is that as this purity wave comes through, there's nowhere to hide. There just is nowhere to hide. Truth has to come out. Because the lies, like I said, there's nowhere to hide. So as truth comes out, just like, say, at your personal level, right? A lie starts to appear that you've been hiding for a long time. What do? You get anxious, you get nervous, and then you try to hide it. You try to sequester it, right? Keep it down. It doesn't work anymore. There is nowhere to hide. So a lot of these industries are going to be pushed to bring out the truth, tell you the truth. Even scientists, because scientists get paid a lot, from these industries that have a lot of money to skew their data, unfortunately. So again, a lot of those things that we tend to trust upon is not there anymore. Or it can't be there anymore because they're not reliable anymore. We need to find a higher level of, say, trust, or we need to find what, or decipher who's telling the truth and who's not. Obviously, we can't trust our senses, our emotions, not emotions. Well, our emotions, and then the 5 senses that we have, because they can get confused. Right? They can get manipulated. There's a lot of falsities on the internet, right? Just like that crazy lady that attacks me, right? Just because it's out there on the internet and she's got more exposure because she spends all day doing whatever she does. She's probably on the line as we speak. I can sense her, right? A lot of people read that, and a lot of people go, "Shit, this lady's crazy. She needs help." But there are a few that go, "Wow. I'm not going to get entangled in that." So how, and there's more, the political systems, doctors, lawyers, whatever else is out there, they push false news out there. So think about that. I'm going to put that aside for you. Come back and finish, say, the medical side. And I do this, by the way, so you get a little confused. Okay? The reason why I get you a little confused, because it expands the way you think. Because we've been brought up, like, this is another reason, this is another aspect, education have to massively transform. Otherwise, we're going to get messed up kids. Because the kids' brains nowadays, they're so brilliant. It's not congruent with the way they get educated in the schooling system, elementary school. Schooling back in the day, late 1890s, it's the same method of teaching as in back in the 1980s. It hasn't changed. And look how much technologically advanced we are. But we still train our kids, teach our kids the same way. So that stuff has to go. Coming back to the medical system, sorry about that, is that what happens is, and this is, you can't heal, or you cannot be healed or cured of anything in any way unless your own natural healing abilities are awakened. That goes with everything. Relationships, money, everything. So what that means is no matter how much drugs you take, no matter how much psychotherapy you take, no matter whatever that you take, energy medicines, anything like that, it will not heal you, it will not cure you. So I don't claim to cure you, okay? Although the medical society might, but look at their statistics. It's not that great. By the way, less than 50%. But what I do best than anybody else out there, from what I've seen, and what we've gathered data on, is awaken your natural healing abilities, your own internal self. And then that way, once your natural healing abilities are awakened, resurrected, so to speak, if you go to a medical doctor, then whatever they might give you would actually say work better for you. So better than the chances of a placebo effect. Even surgeries, or whatever else, even energy medicines, even your faith or your religious practices, they work out better for you because you're at a higher level. You're at a healing frequency. You're here to expand and grow and to be your highest performance self. So you'll take anything, even if it's bad for you or if it's wrong for you. Most likely you won't go that path if you're awakened. But even if it is, you would say expand and grow from that negative so-called experience and move on. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense for you. Kind of got off on a tangent there, but it felt like it needed to be said. And the reason being is, again, as I become more and more popular, because what I do works, I'm going to be pushing probably against the medical community. So I'm sure they're going to come out and go, hey, you shouldn't trust this guy, and all that. Just like, say, some of the religious communities out there, right? I'm part of the devil, I'm this and that. And obviously I'm not, but they'll do anything. Some of your spouses, think that I'm part of a cult, or you've fallen into a cult, right? The furthest thing away from it. Wow, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And again, the deciphering truth. So don't let me forget that. Talking about a cult. Am I a cult? Because I get this as more and more people awaken. Go, wow, that guy has powers. He's a guru or a cult. Let's define what a cult is. And I'm not going to go through all of it, but overall, a cult would be somebody or a group that says that you cannot go anywhere else. Okay? Their knowledge is the only knowledge that you should trust. If you trust any other knowledge, then you're reprimanded. Okay? Again, that's not me. I don't do that. In fact, I just talked about the medical community. You awaken and then you can go anywhere, right? Any religion, any medical doctor, any whatever that might be out there that you need is open to you, but you'd get a better result from it. A cult is where you're initiated into a group. Again, I don't do that either. A cult is where you can't talk to anybody else outside. You can't talk to anybody outside of your group. You can only stay and even a lot of times marry within the cult, right? Or within that group. Obviously, that's not me either. A cult, let's see, you have to have, say, certain dress. You have to dress a certain way. You have to wear an icon or, some kind of definition, right, representing you differently or associating you with that group. I don't do that either. Okay? A cult is where you have to, say, have certain rituals, certain practices, certain cultural standards. We don't do that either. There is no standards here. A cult is where you could only eat, say, certain types of foods or during certain holidays, right? A cult is that you have to do certain things during certain holidays or aspects of the year. Again, much like a ritual or a standard. A cult is that you have rights and wrongs, rules. Right? If you did X, you're demoted or go to hell or get kicked out or get killed, whatever it might be. If you do Y, then you go on, you move up, you move on. What else is there? I'm sure there's plenty more. Let's see, just give me a second to think about. A cult is where you have no rights. You're too dumb to think on your own. So you should let the bigger picture rule your life, or you should, say, talk to somebody, a leader of that group, to tell you what to do. Because, again, you're too dumb to think on your own. We don't do that either. We actually push you, to go out, practice, even make mistakes to learn from them. A cult is where all your resources should be given to, say, a center, right, or a group, and then they dole out and they take care of you. We definitely don't do that. Let's see. Is there any more? Oh, a cult is where they start to separate you from, your family or loved ones. Right? Separate and conquer. We don't do that either, unless it's necessary. If you're in an abusive relationship, this is not good for you to be in that relationship, so you start to separate and identify as your own. So if you look at all the lists of what a cult defined as a cult, and then you compare it to what I do, or EI, exponential intelligence, you see that we're very far from the cult type and the occult. Right? There's nothing. This is all about you expanding, growing, to be the best possible self. Oh, that's another thing. A cult always deems that you're too weak to be on your own, standing on your own 2 feet. You always need the group. You cannot do anything without the group. Right? You cannot make your own decisions without the group. Again, EI is all about bringing you to the grandest possible self. So if you look at the definitions of a cult, according to the dictionary definition of the cult, which is pretty similar to that, most religions fall into that. Most group practices fall into that. Even being a certain, a fan of a certain, football team. Some of them go pretty extreme, right? Most fraternities, most schools of thought, most colleges, government systems, and so on, fall into that category. EI is the only, say, organization that frees you from all that. So think about that. And if anybody asks you or tells you that, hey, you've gone into a cult, right? Ask them some of those questions, and they might get embarrassed. So let's take a deep breath in. One last thing. A cult always tells you that everything else is bad. Everything else is wrong. Okay? In EI, we just give you a higher version of what's out there, no matter what's out there. So as we go deeper the truth, right? Lie detectors. So over time, we've learned for security reasons, right? For sustaining ourselves, right? For protection, we've learned to decipher, what's true, what's false, what's dangerous, what's not dangerous, right? But as the technological advances come about, it's harder and harder to decipher what's true or not in today's society. I was talking about the internet. Somebody could keep spewing out, false news, and the more news or the more that's out there, people start to think it's true. People are very fickle. Their conscious mind, right? And there was a study on this. People who haven't, who say committed a crime, but they didn't commit a crime, but they were kept telling them the story about 4 or 5 times, they started thinking that they actually committed a crime. They did something wrong. There was a psychological study. I don't know the exact details, but in general, that's what it was about. Imagine that. That's how persuasive one can get to tell you that you did a crime, although you had nothing to do with it. Okay? And the way we remember, our conscious memory is not as accurate as we think it is. So there's a lot of, say, distinctions or distortions on how we perceive what's true or not, especially in the technological age. Right? There's a lot of smart individuals who read on psychological effects on, say, what makes a person believe you or not. And then as they lie, they have these cues that make you believable. That makes sense to you. So they've read all about, say, what honest people do. Right? There's certain cues. Body language, tonality, the way you look at people as you, say, tell the truth or lie. They become very good actors. So they can pass you by anything. They can even pass, say, a lie detector test, which wasn't really ever a good machine for telling you the truth. It wasn't even meant for that, although it's a standard for today's society. So over time, what's happened is this new technology comes up, or this awareness comes up, right? What happens is that the consciousness, right, because we're always evolving, we always have to be secure. So there's a consciousness that's coming up. And it's not anything to do with your 5 senses. It's a sense of truth deep inside. Because deep inside, at your spirit level, or your vital force, as I call it, right, that's integrated with, say, this matrix, with everybody else. We're all connected. We all know what's going on. We all know what's truth or not. So as this purity wave comes through, we're not going to be using our emotions to decipher whether it's true or not. Because again, they get distorted. We're going to use a higher level of knowledge, a higher level of connection or communication, our basic core level of communication that our spirit uses to connect to our physical form. So our spirit, timeless being, connecting to the time-bound being. We're going to use that level of communication with everybody else. So when you read a news story or something on the internet, right, social media or whatever it might be, there's an inner knowing of truth or a lie. So, and it's always accurate. So as this purity wave comes through, before we might have not trusted it because, well, we had our senses, we had our emotions, our 5 senses and our emotions telling us. And it was pretty accurate back then. But again, we've been duped over time. So we're coming to a higher level of consciousness or truth-telling. And nobody can fake it. It's the age of transparency. This purity wave that's coming through is literally the age of transparency. You cannot hide lies, distortions, untruths, incongruencies, incompleteness. It doesn't serve you. It's never served you. Look at your family. Look at the state of humanity, the society. It hasn't served us well. It's time to let it go. And that's for those people who are holding on. Well, with this new update, or with this new wave coming through, you have to let it go. That software, say the last version, the previous version of human consciousness, it's not going to be supported anymore. And again, let me say that. It's not going to be supported anymore. So you can't continue on with those distortions as this new consciousness comes through. You just can't hold on to those. It gets deleted for you. Which means that if you don't get upgraded, you either perish rather quickly or you perish soon after. Again, you won't be supported. And this isn't a threat or anything. It's just something that is. Right? Just like a regular software update, the company, Apple or whoever, won't support the last version anymore. It's too burdensome. Same thing here. It's the consciousness. It's the matrix that consciousness won't be supported anymore. So as we get to this, say, new level of transparency, it's phenomenal times. We become more and more efficient. Fantastically efficient. Because we don't have to hide anything. We can be true to ourselves. Along with that, though, all the mistruths that are coming out have to come out. And as I was talking about it earlier, as these mistruths come out, whether it's a medical society, whether it's political systems or anything like that, right? As the truth comes out, those individuals hiding the truth will start to, say, try to destroy or try to cover up the truth. But in this scenario, in this time that we're at, there's no place to cover it up, is the key. Right? Not at a political system, not at a lower level system, city and so on like that, and then not at a family or personal system. And you're sensing it. You don't have to take my word for it, but a lot of people, even outside of this EI community, a lot of people are sensing that there's something coming up. Just like, say, termites, they know when earthquakes and so on come up. Humans have that same sense as well, sensory perception. It's just a little bit higher. Most people are tapping back into it because the waves that are coming through is really powerful. You can't deny it. You know that something is coming up. Even my kids tell me that this reality feels different. Although we're in the same, say, environment. It is different. And it's going to get more. I was saying last time, this purity wave coming through, August starting out, it's getting stronger and stronger as we fall into November. It's going to be an amazing time to awaken, and that's why we've done the human reset. It's going to allow us to reset all aspects of our life. So kind of like jump starting us, right? So we're on top of the wave as this wave comes through. We're going to be those pro surfers that are going to be riding the wave rather than getting pummeled by it. That's what the human reset is about. A lot of interest on it. With my abilities, getting more congruent. Many of you have noticed that my frequency is more and more precision, almost laser. It was good before, but it's even more focused, more instantaneous. So, and from what I'm seeing, less detox for people as well, because it's so sharp. If you think about it, kind of like if you've ever cut something with a dull knife, right? And then now you cut something with a sharp knife, it cuts right through, kind of like that as well. So as my abilities get more and more, say, sharp, it'll cut through all the crap that you have, just slice it off, so you wouldn't even know, say, what happened. You're just different, which is really cool for many of you. So, let's go ahead and take a deep breath in. And just a note, working on you as well. The human reset is how fast. It's a human reset 21-day challenge. We integrated with the 21 days because after about a half an hour's time, the frequencies that I can generate start to increase or start to expand, start to go to higher frequencies. Many of you felt that on the accelerated, almost about half an hour point. I can generate more frequencies. The reason for that is that I'm more in sync, more congruent. The group is more congruent, right? They're more in rhythm. So it can create a much more momentum. And as you all hold that space, get into that space, it provides a nice support system for me to elevate myself even higher. And then as I elevate myself even higher, well, it pulls you up like a vacuum. And then from there, you guys push me up. So it's a win-win for all of us. And that's how we ascend into human consciousness, a higher human consciousness. By the way, this human reset is not just about, better health, better sex, better, more money and all that, right? Good, the good things that we just naturally need. It's about eliminating the concept or idea that we have to suffer in this reality to have something good show up. If you look at society, since the beginning of time, suffering equals freedom. That concept or that rule set or that programming is no more. That's what this wave is about. You do not have to suffer to get the good things. Do you have to work a lot? Sure. But that work can be expensive. It can be enjoyable. But do you have to destroy yourself? No. Do you have to take on the burdens of others? You can't anymore. Many of you are feeling that. That's why many of you, even without doing EI, many of the people, they're getting irritated with people who burden them. That's why. And by the way, as people get irritated by people who burden them, okay, you're going to see a lot more, I don't want to say destruction, but a lot more polarity. Because people are going to start blaming each other for their issues, which is a huge problem. But again, like I said, as the wave comes through, people become weak because their insecurities show. So obviously most individuals are not in tune enough to go, oh, hey, that's my insecurities. It's got nothing to do with the other person, right? So they're going to be blaming. So you'll see more cultural issues, more, skin color type issues, more political system type issues, especially with the political system that we got, pushing against everybody to create their own agenda. Again, all those things are ways to hold on to their identity. It's worked in the past. It's worked for thousands of years. This time, it won't. It'll falter. And it's a great time to be living, because as that crashes, we get to feel, just like many of you, right? You detox, your world falls apart, but you feel so strong. That's the difference between detox and normal life pummeling you. As you detox, your world falls around you. You get stronger, bolder, confident, coming into your sense of self. So imagine not just your life, but the whole human consciousness as it breaks down, as the old system shuts down, right? Breaks away from that matrix. Just think how many people rise up. Reminds me of that saying, the meek shall inherit the earth. Right? That religious saying. That's what it's about. We inherit the earth. Everybody inherits the earth. Does that mean everybody's going to be wealthy or whatever? Maybe, maybe not. But we're not going to be suffering.
For more information on my programs, please visit masajady.com. That's MASSAJADY.com.